Have you noticed how some men barely try, yet women become emotionally addicted to them, while others do everything right and still get ignored? That's not confidence, and it's definitely not luck. It's a psychological trigger most men unknowingly kill the moment they start chasing. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A woman's attraction is rarely decided by logic. It happens beneath awareness, inside tension, uncertainty, and emotional polarity. And once that switch flips, her behavior changes before she even understands why. Today you're going to discover the simplest and fastest trigger that activates that response, rooted in Miller's theory and backed by the psychology of desire itself. Not manipulation, not cheesy pickup lines, but a behavioral pattern that silently separates the men women obsess over from the men they forget overnight. And this is where most men get it completely backwards. Because if you still think attraction is built through validation, constant attention, or proving your worth, this video might frustrate you before it completely changes the way you see female psychology. There's a reason tension creates obsession faster than comfort. There's a reason unpredictability burns deeper than approval. And once you understand how her mind actually responds to masculine presence, you stop reacting emotionally and start controlling the frame entirely. If this message hits you the way it hit me years ago, leave a comment, like the video, and share it with someone who still believes attraction is about being nice enough. Sometimes one insight is all it takes to completely change the game. Most men never realize the moment they lose her already happened before they even opened their mouth. That's the part nobody tells you. They think attraction is built through effort, more attention, more texting, more explaining, more proving. So they walk into every interaction carrying this invisible pressure to be accepted. And women feel that instantly, not consciously, instinctively. You've probably lived this yourself. You meet a woman. She seems interested at first. Eye contact lingers a little too long. She laughs easily. You feel that possibility building in your head. Then suddenly, the energy dies. Her replies slow down. Her tone changes. Another man enters the picture, and somehow she becomes completely different around him. And deep down that burns your ego because you know what hurts the most? It's not that he was better looking than you, not richer, not smarter. He just made her feel something you didn't. That's the brutal reality most men spend years avoiding. Women respond to emotional impact before they respond to logic. And the dangerous part is, the men who understand this rarely speak about it openly. Because once you see the pattern, you start noticing it everywhere. Look at the man women obsess over. Usually he isn't the one performing for attention. He's the one who looks emotionally unavailable to the crowd but fully present in himself. Calm eyes, slower movements, no need to impress, no rush to fill silence. He speaks like someone who can walk away at any moment and still sleep perfectly fine at night. That energy does something to her nervous system, because most men radiate hunger. He radiates restraint, and restraint is seductive in a world full of desperate men. Miller's theory touches this indirectly through behavioral tension. The female brain becomes hyper-focused on what feels emotionally uncertain but socially dominant at the same time. That's why she remembers the man who made her wonder about him, the one she couldn't fully read. The one who didn't instantly hand over validation like every other thirsty man in her inbox. Now listen carefully, because this is where men sabotage themselves. The moment you start chasing her approval, you unconsciously place her above you. Your body changes, your voice changes, your timing changes. Even your texts start sounding like subtle negotiations for attention. She notices, maybe not intellectually, but biologically, something switches off. I learned this the hard way years ago. I remember sitting across from a woman I genuinely liked, trying too hard to keep the conversation alive, smiling too much, explaining myself too much, watching her slowly lose interest in real time while pretending everything was fine. Then a guy walked into the room later that night. quiet, relaxed, barely speaking, but his presence felt grounded, heavy, controlled, and suddenly her entire energy shifted toward him. That moment forces you to confront an uncomfortable truth no one wants to admit. Women often respond less to what you give, and more to what you withhold. Not because they're evil, not because dating is broken, but because tension creates emotional gravity. That's why the masculine frame matters so much. It's not fake alpha behavior, it's emotional self-control. The ability to desire her without collapsing into neediness, to look at her without mentally surrendering, to remain centered while every other man loses composure the second she gives attention. That's the hidden trigger. And once a woman feels that grounded masculine tension from you, something strange happens. She starts chasing the emotional experience of being around you before she even understands why. Here's where things become uncomfortable for most men. Because the moment attraction is born looks almost invisible from the outside. No dramatic scene, no movie dialogue, no perfect line. Just a split second where her nervous system quietly asks itself one question. Does this man feel emotionally weak or emotionally dangerous? And most men fail that test before they even realize it started. They walk into interactions over-explaining themselves, trying to appear harmless, agreeable, easy to manage. You can literally feel the hidden fear underneath it, the fear of losing her attention, the fear of saying the wrong thing, the fear of not being chosen. Women sense that pressure immediately, not because they're psychic, because desperation leaks through behavior. It leaks through your pacing, your tone, your reactions, the way you instantly seek reassurance after saying something bold. That's why attraction has very little to do with what comes out of your mouth, and everything to do with what your presence communicates underneath the words. There's a specific moment early in every interaction where she unconsciously decides, safe brother or potential lover, and that decision is almost never logical. I remember watching this happen years ago at a lounge. Two guys talking to the same woman within maybe 20 minutes of each other. The first guy did everything correct, smiled constantly, asked safe questions, tried hard to keep her entertained. You could tell he wanted her approval from the first minute. She was polite with him. Then the second guy arrived. Different energy completely, calm, slower, grounded. He wasn't trying to impress anyone in the room. Half the time he barely even spoke. But when he looked at her, it felt intentional, like he wasn't asking for permission to exist around her. And her body language changed almost instantly. She leaned closer, touched her hair, started qualifying herself to him without him even asking. That's when I realized something brutal. Women are not reacting to effort the way men think they are. They react to emotional gravity. A man who is internally centered creates tension naturally. A man who needs validation destroys tension instantly. That's why chasing kills attraction. The more you mentally place her above you, the more your behavior unconsciously says, please choose me. And the female nervous system interprets that as lower value before her conscious mind can even explain it. Most men are trying to convince women. The men who trigger obsession never try to convince anyone. That's the difference. And this is where the red pill mindset actually starts making sense beneath all the internet noise. It's not about becoming cruel. It's not about fake alpha performances. It's understanding that feminine desire responds to emotional strength, behavioral certainty, and controlled unpredictability, not approval seeking. A man who leads without apology creates psychological safety and tension at the same time. That combination is rare, dangerous even, because deep down, women don't want a man they can completely control emotionally. They want to feel your restraint, your self-control, your ability to desire her without mentally collapsing in front of her beauty. That's what sexual leadership actually is. Not dominance through force, dominance through emotional stability. And the crazy part, her body notices this before her mind does. That's why she sometimes can't explain why she's drawn to one man and bored by another who checks all the boxes. The chemistry feels irrational because attraction happens below language. This is exactly why some men text constantly, compliment endlessly, pay for everything, and still get ghosted. I once coached a guy who told me, I gave her everything: attention, affection, consistency. I treated her perfectly. Then I asked him one question. Did she ever have to wonder about losing you? Silence. That was the problem. He removed all tension, all mystery, all uncertainty. He became emotionally available before she earned access to him. And once that happens, her brain stops associating you with emotional excitement and starts categorizing you as predictable comfort. Safe, useful, forgettable. Then he changed one thing. He stopped performing, stopped chasing, stopped over-explaining, stopped reacting emotionally every time she pulled away, and suddenly she started reaching out first. Same face, same money, same woman, different energy. Because attraction isn't about adding more tactics. It's about removing weakness from your behavior. That's the part nobody says publicly. Women don't become obsessed because you gave more. They become obsessed when your presence makes them feel something they can't fully control. And that feeling begins the moment you stop needing anything from them. Let's talk about the one thing most men are terrified of: silence. Not because silence is weak, because silence exposes who's actually in control. Most guys panic the second there's empty space in an interaction. They start rambling, cracking nervous jokes, explaining themselves, filling every pause because deep down they're scared that if they stop performing, she'll lose interest. And ironically, that desperation is exactly what kills attraction. Women don't just listen to your words. They study your emotional state underneath them. A man who cannot sit comfortably in silence unconsciously communicates anxiety, neediness, fear of rejection. But a man who remains calm in stillness, that hits differently. Think about the last time you met someone with real presence. Not loud, not attention-seeking, just grounded. Slow eye contact, controlled movements. No rushing to impress anybody. You felt it immediately. That's non-verbal power, and women are hypersensitive to it because their nervous system constantly scans for emotional strength beneath behavior. A held pause, a calm stare that doesn't break. The ability to let tension breathe instead of nervously escaping it with words. That creates emotional gravity. I remember watching a friend completely change his dating life with one adjustment. He stopped trying to win conversations, stopped performing, stopped over-talking whenever a woman went quiet, and suddenly women started leaning into him more. Why? Because silence, when backed by certainty, feels dangerous in the best possible way. It gives the impression that you're observing more than reacting, that you're emotionally composed, that you don't need validation every 5 seconds to feel secure in yourself. And here's the part most men never understand. Women don't want to be logically convinced into desire. They want to feel drawn into it emotionally. That's why certainty matters so much. Not fake alpha behavior, not forced dominance. Real certainty. Certainty in your intentions. Certainty in your presence. Certainty that you'll be fine whether she chooses you or not. The moment she feels that, the dynamic changes, because now you're no longer another man trying to gain access to her. You become a man she feels compelled to understand, and that curiosity becomes attraction. That's why emotional restraint is so powerful. Most men reveal everything instantly. Their interest, their insecurity, their hunger. Nothing is left for her imagination to discover. Mystery dies, tension disappears, polarity collapses. But when your energy says, I desire you but I do not need you, her subconscious reacts differently. That's when she starts thinking about you after the interaction ends. Not because of what you said, because of how you made her feel around you. And trust me, very few men understand how powerful that really is. Let's keep going, because this next part is where most men unknowingly destroy attraction without ever seeing it happen. The shift is subtle, almost invisible. One day she barely notices you. Then suddenly she starts adjusting herself when you enter the room. Her posture changes. Her voice softens. Eye contact lasts a second longer than necessary. She starts asking random questions just to keep the interaction alive. And the average guy completely misreads what's happening. He thinks, now I need to impress her. Wrong move. The moment you start performing for her attention, the energy collapses. Because attraction grows in emotional tension, not emotional submission. What triggered her wasn't your effort. It was your frame. The fact you walked in calm, grounded, unreactive, like a man who isn't emotionally starving for validation. That's rare now. Most men leak desperation within minutes. You see it everywhere. Over-texting, nervous laughter, constant reassurance seeking disguised as being nice. Men trying to earn desire through compliance. Women feel exhausted by that energy even if they smile politely through it. But when a man is fully settled in himself, something different happens to her nervous system. She relaxes and becomes alert at the same time. That contradiction is powerful, and this is usually where the tests begin. Not because she hates you, not because she's manipulative, because attraction makes women curious. She wants to see if your confidence is real or just another performance that collapses under pressure. So she pulls back slightly, challenges you, delays replies, says something provocative just to watch your reaction. Most men fail right there. Their composure disappears instantly. Suddenly they're over-explaining, double-texting, acting colder than usual to win power back. Everything becomes reactive, and the woman sees the truth immediately. The frame was fake. A man with genuine masculine presence doesn't panic when tension appears. He doesn't emotionally flinch because a woman changed her tone for 5 minutes. He stays centered. That calmness communicates something primal. I am emotionally stronger than the situation, and women respond deeply to that. I remember hearing a guy once say, the moment I stopped reacting to every little change in her mood, she became obsessed. That statement sounds simple, but it reveals everything. Because most men are emotionally controlled by women, they barely even know. One delayed text ruins their day. One cold reply destroys their confidence. One Instagram story with another guy sends them spiraling mentally. Women can feel that dependency, and dependency kills polarity. That's why behavioral tension matters so much. Not stress, not games, tension. The kind where she can feel your attention, but also feel that you're fully capable of walking away if the energy isn't mutual. That balance is addictive. Next time you're speaking to a woman, slow everything down. Seriously. Most men move too fast because internally they're nervous. Slow speech, slower movements. Hold eye contact just a little longer without trying to dominate it. You'll notice something strange. She starts filling the silence herself. She starts leaning toward you emotionally because your calmness creates space for her imagination to activate. And imagination is dangerous when attraction already exists. That's where most seduction actually happens. Not in words, in anticipation. A woman's mind will often seduce her long before anything physical ever happens, but only if you stop interrupting the process with needy behavior. And here's the deeper truth behind all this. You cannot fake grounded masculine energy. You either genuinely feel emotionally complete without her approval, or eventually your behavior exposes you. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional incongruence. If your words say confidence, but your energy screams fear of rejection, she'll trust the energy every single time. That's why this is not a script, not a trick, not some magic line from the internet. It's an entirely different way of carrying yourself. You stop chasing, stop proving, stop negotiating for attention. And for the first time, She feels what it's like to stand in front of a man who is completely in control of himself. That's the signal her subconscious has been searching for all along. Now let's talk about the part most men completely ruin without even noticing: timing. Because attraction is rarely destroyed by lack of interest. It's destroyed by impatience. The second a man feels chemistry, he panics internally. He rushes to escalate, rushes to text more, rushes to touch, rushes to define the connection before the tension has fully matured. And women feel that rush immediately. It feels like emotional hunger disguised as confidence. That's why what happens before escalation matters more than the escalation itself. That pause before you touch her hand, that calm eye contact that lingers just long enough, that moment where you almost say something then don't. Those spaces create anticipation, and anticipation is where desire starts becoming psychological instead of physical. Most men never allow tension to breathe. They interrupt it constantly because silence makes them uncomfortable. Uncertainty makes them uncomfortable. They need reassurance too quickly. But a grounded man can sit inside tension without collapsing it. That's power. I remember watching a guy years ago on a rooftop bar. Nothing flashy about him, no loud jokes, no peacocking, yet every woman in that group kept drifting toward him throughout the night. Why? Because he never chased the moment. While other men were fighting for attention, he looked emotionally untouched by the outcome. Calm posture, slower movements, speaking only when he actually had something to say. And the craziest part? Women started escalating toward him themselves. That's when you realize attraction works differently than most men were taught. Women are deeply affected by emotional pacing. A man who moves too fast unconsciously communicates fear of losing the opportunity. But a man who remains composed signals abundance without saying a word. That's status on a nervous system level. And this is where sexual polarity is really born. Not through lines, not through manipulation, through emotional contrast. Her emotions become fluid. Yours remain steady. She tests the waters emotionally. You stay centered. That stability creates a kind of tension her body responds to automatically. You can literally watch it happen. She starts finding reasons to continue the interaction, adjusting her appearance mid-conversation, holding eye contact longer, asking personal questions she didn't ask other men. Not because you gamed her, because your energy gave her nervous system something rare. Certainty, without pressure. That's why men with real presence often say less. Their silence carries weight because they're not trying to control the outcome. They're anchored in themselves, and women feel that immediately. Here's the deeper truth. Nobody says openly. Most attraction problems are nervous system problems. Men try to fix attraction externally, while internally they're chaotic. Overthinking every text, overanalyzing every reaction, needing constant signs they're winning. Women sense that instability. A masculine frame is not built through pretending to be alpha. It's built through emotional regulation, through becoming the kind of man who doesn't mentally fall apart when tension appears. That's why small habits matter. Walk slower. Pause before responding. Stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. Stop seeking agreement every time you speak. Those tiny behaviors retrain your nervous system into calm authority. And once your energy becomes regulated, women start reacting differently around you without even understanding why. Because presence is felt before it's understood. That's the real secret here. When a woman feels emotionally safe while simultaneously sensing emotional danger, attraction intensifies. Not danger from aggression, danger from the fact she cannot fully control how strongly she feels around you. That combination is rare, and once she experiences it, you stop feeling like just another man trying to impress her. You become the man she keeps replaying in her head long after the interaction ends. So how do you actually practice this in real life? It's simpler than most men expect, and harder than they're willing to admit. Because the real battle isn't with women. It's with your own need for validation. Most men walk into interactions already emotionally negotiating. They want reassurance immediately. They want signs, certainty, control. And because of that, they overperform from the very beginning. Too many words, too much explaining, too much energy leaking through nervous behavior. You've seen it happen. A guy meets a beautiful woman, and suddenly he's no longer himself. His voice changes, his posture shifts. He starts trying to sound smarter, funnier, more impressive. It's like watching a man abandon his center in real time. And women feel that collapse instantly. That's why presence beats performance every single time. Next time you're talking to a woman, try something different. Pause before responding. Hold eye contact just a little longer than your instincts want to. Stop rushing to fill silence, because silence is where emotional tension starts breathing. Most men can't handle that space. They panic and try to entertain their way back into control. But when you stay calm inside that tension, something changes. You stop reacting to her energy and start anchoring yourself in your own. That shift is everything, because now she's no longer interacting with a man seeking approval. She's interacting with a man who feels emotionally grounded, whether she validates him or not. And that energy is rare now. We live in a world full of men constantly chasing attention, chasing replies, chasing women who already sense the desperation before the first date even begins. That's why emotional restraint has become magnetic. Not coldness, not fake indifference. Restraint, the ability to desire without losing control of yourself. I remember a guy telling me once, the moment I stopped trying to win women over, they started opening up around me. That line stayed with me because it exposes the entire game. Women are exhausted by men who perform. They become curious around men who are simply present. That's the difference. You don't need more tactics. You need less noise, less overthinking, less approval seeking, less reacting emotionally. Every time tension appears, attraction becomes much simpler when your nervous system stops sabotaging you. Because what women respond to most deeply isn't perfection, it's congruence. When your words, body language, eye contact, pacing, and emotional state all say the same thing, I know who I am, that certainty creates polarity automatically. And polarity is what modern dating is starving for. Women don't remember every compliment you gave them. They remember the man whose presence made them feel emotionally exposed without him even trying. The man who looked calm while everybody else was performing. The man who didn't rush to possess her attention because he already possessed himself. That's the energy that bypasses logic and speaks directly to instinct. And here's the part most men never fully understand. You are always transmitting something. Neediness transmits. Desperation transmits. Fear transmits. But so does calmness. So does emotional discipline. So does grounded masculine intent. That's why this isn't about manipulation. Manipulation is fragile. It collapses under pressure because it's fake. Presence is different. Presence doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't force. It simply holds the moment without flinching. That's leadership. And once a woman feels that kind of grounded masculine energy from you, she starts experiencing you differently. You stop feeling like another man trying to get something from her. You become an emotional experience she can't fully explain. That's the real shift. Not becoming louder, not becoming more aggressive, becoming internally solid. Because the men who are truly magnetic aren't trying to control women. They've mastered themselves first. So ask yourself honestly, are you still chasing reactions? Still seeking validation? Still adjusting your entire emotional state based on how one woman responds to you? Or are you finally ready to become the kind of man whose presence changes the atmosphere before he even speaks? Tomorrow's video goes even deeper. I'm going to break down the one female attraction mistake that silently destroys desire, even when she's already interested in you. Most men think they lose women because they're not enough. The truth is far more brutal than that. And once you see the psychological pattern behind it, you'll never look at dating the same way again. If you think you understand the game now, wait until you see that. But for now, watch the video appearing on your screen right now, because this next video connects directly to everything we talked about today. You'll see exactly how women test masculine presence in real conversations, and why most men fail those tests without even realizing it. If this video opened your eyes, that one will make the entire pattern impossible to ignore. Go watch it now, while this mindset is still fresh in your head. And if this video gave you value, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss tomorrow's upload. Most men will never understand the game, but you do. I'll see you among the few.